Tutankhamun's tomb was to bring to the world the story of a dark age in the history of ancient Egypt. After a time of revolution, a boy king had come to the throne. In Tutankhamun's name, Egyptians were promised a new beginning. Old monuments were rebuilt, traditional religion restored, and the new king was given a queen, his sister, Ankhesenamun. In keeping with tradition, a site in the Valley of the Kings was selected for the pharaoh's burial, an event that was to come sooner than the young king could have imagined. As soon as Tutankhamun was old enough, his queen was expected to produce a child. The future of Egypt depended on it. Without an heir, the empire could be flung into chaos on the death of the king. Incestuous marriage between royals might have made political sense, but producing a healthy child from a union between sister and brother was fraught with risk. Tutankhamun's queen, Ankhesenamun, miscarried at least twice. But even dead babies were considered precious. They were of royal blood. Each was mummified for eventual burial with their father. For most of Tutankhamun's reign, the real power was wielded from behind the throne by a military council run by the young king's advisor, Ai. But when Tutankhamun reached the age of 18, he would have claimed his inheritance, to rule Egypt as a divine pharaoh. The king's newfound power would not last long. In his 10th year on the throne, Tutankhamun died. Exactly why remains a mystery. Some believe he was murdered by his own advisors, or perhaps he just had an accident. Examination of his body, using modern scientific techniques, showed a leg injury which could have been fatally infected. Tutankhamun was still a teenager. For an Egyptian pharaoh, death was not the end. It was a beginning. Tutankhamun now embarked on his most important journey into the underworld. There he would be united with the gods and complete the cycle of resurrection and regeneration. But first, Tutankhamun's body must be preserved with salt. All of his internal organs, except the heart and kidneys, were removed. His brain was withdrawn through his nose and discarded, while other organs were preserved in an alabaster chest. Finally, Tutankhamun's mummified body was wrapped in bandages and placed within a series of golden coffins for transportation to the Valley of the Kings. Tutankhamun's young widow, Ankhesenamun, had produced no heir, so the former advisor Ai now came to the throne. To cement his power, he married Tutankhamun's widow, probably another incestuous marriage. There is evidence that Ankhesenamun was Ai's own granddaughter. Tutankhamun had died, but his tomb was unfinished. Now a new site had to be found in a hurry. His body was probably placed in the tomb his chief advisor, Ai, had already built for himself. It was not designed for a king, but it could be made ready in time. Tutankhamun's coffin was placed inside a stone sarcophagus at the center of the burial chamber, to be surrounded by 4 gold-covered shrines, one within the next, each covered in sacred writings to protect the king on his journey. The small tomb was crammed with everything Tutankhamun would need in the afterlife. There were beds, chairs, couches, musical instruments, magical charms, chariots, jewelry, swords, daggers, shields, torches, cosmetics, and boats to carry him on his long journey. Tutankhamun was not buried with the care one might expect for a king. The golden coffin was too big, and part of it had to be sawn off to make way for the lid of the sarcophagus. Tutankhamun's final resting place was in a tomb built for a commoner and assembled in a rush. With the ceremonies complete, the tomb was sealed. Tutankhamun was finally left alone in the Silent Valley. Pharaoh I reigned for just 4 years, leaving no heir. When a new dynasty began, Tutankhamun's name was removed from the monuments he had built. With his records erased, his memory was allowed to wither away.